I want you to think for a moment about something heavy, not a chore, not a stressor, but a weight that feels deep and personal. It's the weight of grief. Grief is perhaps the most universal yet most isolating human experience. It arrives without invitation, and it fundamentally reshapes the world we thought we knew. We are often taught how to celebrate loss, to memorialize, and to remember, but we are rarely taught how to live with it. How do you tie your shoes or make a cup of coffee or even sit through a holiday when a piece of your own story is missing? The world expects you to get over it, to find closure, as if grief were a door to be locked instead of a necessary process to be lived through. Today, we are taking a breath, slowing down, and getting real about what it means to deal with grief. If you are carrying something heavy today, please know that you're not alone. Welcome to today's episode of the Due to Expire podcast. Thanks for joining me. I'm your host, Corey Kennard. Now, let's grow. Today, we're going to jump into a topic that I think is meaningful to everybody. But we're not just talking about sadness when it comes to grief. Grief is a full body, full mind experience. It's messy, it's complicated, and often it brings along some very unwelcome house guests. So today, we're going to name these house guests, face them, and figure out how to live with them. We're tackling what I call the 4 F's of grief: fear, frustration, family complications, and financial concerns. We'll look at why they show up, and most importantly, we're going to find some antidotes to help us to navigate this incredibly difficult terrain along life's journey. But before we get started, I really want to let you know that this episode is presented in partnership with the No Negative Energy Life brand, a life coaching resource and media edutainment outlet where we help human beings to consciously bring to the surface and ultimately eradicate the impact of negative thoughts and intentionally replace them with healthy ways of living that will increase one's ability to thrive. Check us out at nonegative.energy. That's no negative, all one phrase, .energy. Let's get right to it and discuss how to deal with the first unwelcome house guest. This house guest invites itself over to accompany grief. This one has no shame and enjoys walking in without knocking or ringing the doorbell. It's called fear. The fear factor is very real. When you lose someone, fear immediately moves in and makes itself right at home alongside grief. It's the fear of the future. Like, what will birthdays look like now? Who will I call with good news? Who will walk with me down the aisle at my wedding? How will I pay the bills? Can I raise the kids on my own? Who will help me and be there for me when things get tough? It's also the fear of forgetting the sound of their laugh. And for many, it triggers a very real, very primal fear of our own mortality. This isn't just in your head. Research shows that intense grief can put your nervous system on high alert. Your amygdala, the brain's little fear center, starts working overtime. You might experience anxiety, panic attacks, or just a constant low-grade hum of dread. A client once described it perfectly. He said, "My brain has become a disaster movie screenwriter, and I am the star of every single film. And let me tell you, none of them have a happy ending." It's an exhausting way to live. So what's the antidote for the fear factor? I call it the fear filter. First, when you feel that wave of panic rising, use this grounding technique. It's a simple one, and I call it the 5-4-3-2-1 method. Now, that's really simple, right? Can you count from 5 to 1 backwards? You got it then. Wherever you are, stop and silently name 5 things that you can see. Identify 4 things you can feel physically: the chair beneath you or the fabric of your shirt. And then identify 3 things that you can hear in that moment. Identify 2 things that you can smell and 1 thing that you can taste. What does this do? This pulls you out of the what-if future and plants you firmly in the right now, which is almost always safer than the scenarios that are swirling around in your head. Second, to combat the fear of forgetting, you can create a legacy project. Now, this doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It can be a digital photo album, a playlist of your loved one's favorite songs, or planting a tree in their honor. These tangible acts reinforce memory and turn fear into an act of love. As Franklin D. Roosevelt said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. By taking small, concrete actions, we prove that quote to be right. Now, the second unwelcome house guest that will likely show up and plops right down on your living room sofa and starts to watch television is frustration. But guess what? Frustration never travels alone. And it quickly calls its close cousin, anger, to stop by as well. Now, let's be real. Grief is frustrating. It's not the neat linear path that the 5 stages model can make it out to be for everyone. One day you feel okay. The next you're back in a puddle on the kitchen floor, or yelling at the top of your lungs in anger. That's normal, but it's incredibly frustrating. And when frustration comes in, it does not bother to even close the door, but leaves it wide open for the whole outside world to get involved. You know, the well-meaning friend who says, "Don't worry, they're in a better place." This is one of the worst things that you can say. Although it's meant to comfort, it can feel like a total invalidation of your pain. Honestly, if I had $1 for every client who told me, if one more person tells me to be strong, I might just use that strength to slam them against the wall, I would not have to worry about money for the rest of my life. Now, I do not condone violence in this way, obviously, but I can see how frustration can get a person to that point. So the antidote to deal with this second unwelcome house guest and its friend, anger, is what I call the frustration flush. First, give yourself a nice big permission slip. Seriously, give yourself a nice big permission slip. Take out a piece of paper and write, "I have permission to feel angry and frustrated today." Or write this down: "I have permission to be unproductive and sad." See, grief doesn't follow a rule book, and you need to give yourself the grace to feel whatever you feel without judgment. Second, for those frustrating comments, have a few polite, predetermined responses ready. Something like, "Thank you for your thoughts. I'm just taking it one day at a time." This can be a gentle way to end a conversation you don't have the energy for. And finally, you have to get that frustrated energy out of your body. Physical release is crucial. Go for a hard run, punch a pillow, put on some loud music, and scream in your car at the top of your lungs. It might sound silly, but physically, you're discharging that energy and you're preventing it from getting stuck inside of you. As the writer Vicki Harrison said, grief is like the ocean. It comes in waves. All you can do is learn how to swim. Sometimes learning to swim means you have to kick and splash with everything you've got. And then there's the house guest that arrives and goes straight to the refrigerator, grabs food out, and proceeds to cook a meal without asking. Family. The people we are supposed to have as our biggest support can sometimes become a source of profound complication during grief. Why? Because everyone in a family grieves differently. Your dad might become silent and withdrawn, while your sister needs to talk about it constantly. Neither is wrong, but the differences can create friction. Old resentments can bubble to the surface. Disagreements about the funeral, the eulogy, or what to do with dad's old fishing gear can suddenly feel like a pre-battle for a much bigger war on the horizon. It's like grief turns your family into a reality TV show that absolutely no one signed up for. This is where you need an antidote I call the family framework. The cornerstone of this framework is using what I call I statements. Instead of accusing by saying something like, "You're not even sad," which puts someone on the defensive, I want you to try saying, "I'm feeling really alone in my grief right now, and I miss talking about them." This invites connection instead of conflict. Now, if things are really tense, consider calling a grief summit. A family meeting at the dining room table with one ground rule. Everyone gets to share how they are feeling. And the goal is simply to listen and understand, not to fix and not to judge. Acknowledge that everyone's path is valid. And finally, if old family traditions are way too painful now, work together to create a new one. Maybe you can't do your holiday celebrations the old way, but you can start a new tradition of going for a hike on that day to honor your loved one's memory, or get together once a month or every other month to celebrate your loved one's life. The key is to attempt to build a new framework for your family, one that can hold the weight of your loss together. Because the family dynamics have changed, the family framework must change as well to keep the connection strong and allow everyone to heal in their own way with the support of the other family members. Now, our final house guest is one we rarely talk about, but it shows up at the most inconvenient time and wants to stay up all night and cause immense stress. The house guest of finances. Losing someone isn't just an emotional event. It's a logistical and financial nightmare. There are funeral costs, the average of which are now well over $9,000 in the United States. There might be medical bills, a loss of income, and a mountain of red tape bureaucracy. You're at your most vulnerable point of your life, and you're expected to become an expert in estates, life insurance, and taxes. You find yourself on hold with the cable company for 2 hours trying to explain to a robot that you need to cancel an account for a person who has died. It is the definition of adding insult to injury. The antidote here is what I call a plan for financial fortitude. First, one thing at a time, please. Your grieving brain is not equipped for complex financial planning. I don't care how much of a multitasker you think you are. So make a list of everything that needs to be done. Prioritize it, and then commit to tackling just one small item per day or per week. Say something like, today, the only goal is to find the life insurance policy. That's it. Ding, 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 ding. You win. Now, the second thing is that you need to ask for help. This is not the time for stoicism. Do you have a friend who is an accountant? A cousin who is a lawyer? Ask if you can borrow their brain for about an hour. Don't be afraid to delegate tasks to trusted family members, or even hire a professional for a consultation. Their fee will be well worth your peace of mind. And thirdly, give yourself permission to press the pause button on any non-urgent decisions. You do not have to decide whether to sell the house or what to do with their retirement account right away. Heck, it might not even be resolved in the next month or even that year. That's okay. You see, amidst this chaos, you need to give yourself the gift of time. So, there we are. Things that can help us to deal with or even kick out these unwanted house guests. They all tag along with grief, fear, frustration, family, and finances. They can be formidable opponents, but they are not unbeatable. By using a fear filter, a frustration flush, and family framework, along with a plan for financial fortitude, you can begin to navigate through these challenges. But most importantly, please be kind to yourself. Grief is not a problem to be solved. It's a process to be honored. It's the raw, painful, and ultimately beautiful evidence of how deeply we can love. As Queen Elizabeth II so profoundly put it, grief is the price we pay for love. Now, I have to tell you, it's a steep price to pay, but it means that the love we have for the one we lost is invaluable. If you're struggling, please reach out, talk to a friend, find a support group, or seek professional therapy. You do not have to walk this path alone. Now, I want you to begin to implement whatever works for you into your daily routine and go after it like your life and your mental and your emotional health and well-being all depend on it, because it does. So right now, reflect on your life. Are you prioritizing what truly matters? Are you acting with intention or letting time slip away? Since we are all due to expire, the question is, what will you do with your life between now and then? Thank you for tuning in to the Due to Expire podcast. Be well and remember to take care of yourself first when dealing with grief before attempting to care for others. I'm your host, Corey Canard.